Good morning and a warm welcome to everybody. I request all the delegates and speakers to take their seat. We are about to start the 10th edition of the ATEXCON. As many of us would be knowing, the Asian Textile Conference has been one of the flagship conferences of CITI. This is the 10th edition and we are very happy that after a gap of few years, we have been able to have a physical congregation for this again. The 10th edition of ATEXCON is themed Reimagining the Textile and Apparel Industry for the Next Decade. The global textile trade is presently passing through a significant transition. China's predominance in the textile trade is waning, and this has given a lot of opportunity for all the other Asian textile manufacturers. In this context, CITI is organizing this conference, which is to discuss the opportunities and trends for the next decade in this sector. A warm welcome to our Honorable Minister of State, Srimati Darshana Vikram Jardosh. May I now request our dignitaries to come on dais. Mr. T. Rajkumar, Chairman CITI. Shri Upendra Prasad ji, Secretary Textiles. Madam Darshana Jardosh and Mr. Rakesh Mehra. Can I request you to please come on dais? We'll be starting this with the national anthem. May I please request everyone to stand up for the national anthem? The national anthem, please.
Janagana mana adhinayak jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May I request everybody to be seated. May I request Chairman CITI, Mr. T. Rajkumar, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. A guest of honor for today's function, Honorable Minister of State for Textiles and Railways, Srimati Darshana Vikram Jardoshi ji, Madam. Respected Secretary, Sir, Shri Upendra Prasad Singh ji. The Deputy Chairman of our Confederation of Indian Textile Industry, Shri Rakesh Mehra ji, delegates from Asia and across the countries, senior government officials, esteemed invitees of CITI, my friends from the industry, I welcome each one of you for the 10th Asian Textiles Conference at ATEXCON. At the outset, I would like to thank the Honorable Minister of State for Textiles and Railways, Srimati Darshana Vikram Jardoshi ji, Madam, for taking out time from her busy schedule and accepting our request to be guest of honor at today's event. Madam, I extend a very warm welcome to your good self. The entire textile and apparel industry is extremely overwhelmed and delighted with your presence here. Welcome, Madam. I also welcome our beloved Secretary Textiles, Shri Upendra Prasad Singh ji IAS, and I thank him for gracing this occasion with his presence. Welcome, sir. I also welcome all the senior government officials, invitees of CITI, delegates from the textile industry, and friends from the media, and thank each one of you for gracing this occasion of the 10th edition of ATEXCON. The current edition of ATEXCON is based on the theme, Reimagining the Textile and Apparel Industry for the Next Decade. Friends, as you all know, post-COVID-19, the global textile industry is witnessing a reshuffle of the entire value chain. Nowadays, many terms like China plus one, reshoring, onshoring, etc. are being normally heard in interaction across the textile value chain. In such a scenario, it becomes important to not only take stock of the current standing, but also discuss upon how the textile and apparel industry is likely to change in the coming decade, and also how the industry should prepare itself to take the challenges head on. The value of global textile and apparel exports stood up to about US $9.4 billion in 2021, accounting for about 34% of the total textile and apparel exports. China continues to be the number one textile and apparel exporting country, followed by Bangladesh, Vietnam, and India. Thus, it would not be wrong to say that Asian countries are ruling the global textile and apparel trade. The Asian region, comprising China, Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, and other countries like Indonesia, Cambodia, and Sri Lanka, are of significantly important in global textile and apparel exports. Any change in the trend of these countries affect the entire textile and apparel value chain globally. Hence, it becomes important for us to understand the trend of the Asian region so as to have a better understanding of the market. With this background, CITI is organizing the 10th edition of ATEXCON today. The textile and apparel industry is one of the oldest industries and has a formidable presence in the national economy. Textile and apparel sector is the second largest employment providing sector in India after agriculture. It provides direct and indirect employment to more than 10 crore people, including a large number of women and rural population. Indian textile and apparel industry is self-reliant from the production of raw material to the delivery of finished products with substantial value addition at each stage of processing. The last 2 years has been quite challenging for the Indian textile and apparel industry, with India's textile and apparel exports declined to about $30.9 billion in 2020-21 from levels of $37.5 billion in 2018-19. However, as a result of decisive and favorable policy support from the government, the Indian textile and apparel industry bounced back, and India could achieve its highest ever textile and apparel exports of about $43.4 billion in 21-22, which also accounted for about 10.3% of the India's total merchandise exports during 21-22. Looking at the importance and caliber of this sector, government has recently announced several policy initiatives, including the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme (PLI), the Prime Minister's Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel Park (PM Mitra), which will result in increased investment in the sector and will give a further boost to the India's textile and apparel industry to move forward towards the desired targets of achieving $350 billion market size, including $100 billion exports by 2025-2026. As we all know, the Indian textile and apparel industry is mainly dominated by cotton, and it is the mainstay of the Indian textile and apparel industry. However, during the first year, Indian cotton textile value chain has witnessed huge volatility, which has impacted the smooth production planning of textile sector. Besides this, various international developments have led to political instability, higher logistics cost, higher crude prices, current fluctuations, etc., which have emerged as a challenge for the Indian textile sector. Before moving further, I would like to applaud our government for concluding trade agreements with United Arab Emirates and Australia in record time, and also making efforts to conclude the FTAs with other important countries like United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, and the European Union, etc. These FTAs will provide a level playing field to the Indian textile and apparel exporters, similar to its competing nations, and India will surely benefit from these FTAs. But we as an industry should be able to cash upon these FTAs by ensuring that we manufacture, supply product as per the demand of these markets and can emerge as an alternative to China in the coming years. Friends, in today's ATEXCON, we are looking forward to have a detailed deliberation on important policy aspects wherein senior government officials, policy makers and trade experts will brainstorm to lay down the roadmap of the textile and apparel industry for the next decade. I am extremely sure that to have a meaningful outcome from each of the 5 sessions that we will see during the day. I am also happy to share with you all that for today's event, we have also published an exclusive knowledge paper having an in-depth competitor analysis for India to identify its strengths and challenges. I once again thank our beloved Honorable Minister of State for Textiles and Railways, Srimati Darshana Vikram Jardosh ji, for gracing today's occasion. I also thank our beloved Secretary Textiles, Shri Upendra Prasad Singh IAS, for gracing this occasion. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I request you to formally welcome the Minister with a floral bouquet. Now, may I request the dignitaries on the dais to please proceed for the lighting of the lamps? Secretary. Welcome, Secretary. After that. After lighting? Yeah. Can someone else finish? Thank you, sir. Now, may I request Secretary, Ministry of Textiles, Shri Upendra Prasad Singh ji, to share his thoughts on the roadmap for the next decade. Felicitation. May I request Mr. Rakesh Mehra to felicitate our Secretary, Mr. Upendra Prasad Singh. Thank you, sir. Now may I request you to share your thoughts on the 10th ATEXCON occasion on the roadmap for this sector for the next decade.
A very good morning to all of you, Honorable Minister of State, Mr. Rajkumar, Mr. Mehra, friends. I would be here for the first session as well, so I think I would like to be very brief now, and maybe I'll share more of my thoughts a little later. First of all, this is a very right time that this workshop is being held. The only other day we celebrated, we completed 75 years of India's independence. We have entered into what is called a Amrit Kal, and Honorable Prime Minister himself has now set a target for all of us. Target not in terms of so many billion US dollar of export or whatever it may be, but he has only said that we have to become a developed country. Now you will have to work backwards, that to become developed country, what is needed actually, and we all have to work accordingly. Now, so that would be, of course, that depends on every sector, not only a textile sector, but as everybody knows the importance of textile sector. The people who are present here, I need not kind of talk about both strength and weaknesses of textile sector. India has a lot of strength in textile sector, there is no doubt. The kind of, like we are one of the countries which are present in entire value chain and substantial presence in entire value chain. So even if certain logistics disruptions or whatever takes place, perhaps our country is in a better position to face that as compared to many other countries. There are weaknesses also. We keep talking in terms of this, we don't have size and scale. We all talk of how our value chain is fragmented. We keep talking of how our logistics costs are higher, maybe because of the fragmented value chain. Then there are some other issues also on the weaknesses side. So government of course has done a few things, but I would still say that this sector is primarily, basically is a private, privately led kind of a sector. We do provide certain policy support, we do provide maybe certain funding for some of the schemes also. Already, Mr. Rajkumar ji have said, we have started a couple of years back a national technical mission on textile. Because we understood the importance of technical textile in the whole textile sector. We have had one phase of PLI already, where 64 companies have been approved. That is for the MMF and technical textile. Very soon, perhaps we would have a second phase also, will be rolling. We have intended, after discussion with all of you, that perhaps that could be for primarily for a garmenting sector, irrespective of fiber actually. Then we have, of course, a mega textile park, which we again would be approving the sites very shortly, because we have been working with the state government in the meantime. Some of you may be bothering that why is it taking so much time after cabinet approval. Actually, we want, in the name of a mega textile park, we want certain concessions to be available upfront from the states. For example, let's say a cost of power. A cost of power is very important actually. So we are engaged with the states that unless you have a reasonable cost of power, and that reasonability has to have some kind of a predictability, because someone doesn't invest it for 1 year or 2 years. Somebody invests it for, let's say, 15 years or 20 years or 30 years or 50 years. So what is your present power cost? I'm just giving one example, and how this power cost. The power cost may not be constant, but one knows that at what rate kind of it would increase. Maybe someone may argue that basically rates are maybe decided by other forces. For example, let's say State Electricity Regulatory Commission may decide the rate, but still the government can make it predictable, because you can always do a bit of a subsidizing or whatever it may be. Similarly, we are engaged with the states on labor laws reforms. That what are the major labor laws reforms after the courts have come into being, which is needed for the industry, because one of the reasons people have been talking that one of our weak points have been a problem of labor laws actually. So we are working on that and soon perhaps we would be able to come up with the locations. In the meantime, we have been of course working with the engagement of a PMA and doing some other behind the work scene, because we need to have both. We need to have a good master developer for the project, and at the same time we need to have some good anchor investors also for the project. National Single, even though this doesn't relate to only this ministry, but we have now something called a National Single Window Clearance, which is also would be helpful as far as especially our PM Mitra Park kind of things are concerned. We also, about the Gati Shakti, and a mention was made also of the FTAs. Even though our minister also keeps saying that FTAs, sometimes we think that this is a panacea for everything. FTAs are not panacea for everything. And FTAs are not very easy because it's a give and take actually. Whatever unless we provide some concession to some other countries, they will also, we will also have to provide some concession if we expect concession from them. But then some recent FTAs signed, you are aware of, some of them have become operational, some of them will become operational soon. So these we have taken. Now, I was discussing just before coming here that there are, when we talk of value chain, the primary value chain, primary thing which comes is the raw material. Everybody talks about raw material security. And earlier we were talking of raw material security only as far as the cotton is concerned. And we were almost very happy that always saying that India is a largest producer of cotton, and India is even, we used to say India is largest exporter of cotton. Now, what has happened last year has been a kind of a bit of a shock for everyone, because not only the production came down from an average level of about 350 lakhs, estimated is about 315 lakh. So maybe the production went down by about 35 lakh or so. And then maybe consumption would certainly, in fact, consumption would have been even more by March, unless last few months there was slackening down of demand for yarn and all. Otherwise, the product consumption would have been even more. So while we are working on cotton, because we cannot, even though whatever we may say, the Indian cotton-led textile industry will continue to be important actually. So very recently we had, many of you were present in that, after a lot of difficulty we got even an agriculture minister and agriculture ministry people present there. And now they have formed a committee also, and recently that committee met. Because the fact remains that after 2005-2006, there have been no increase in cotton productivity. Area cannot increase. Area can marginally increase by 5%, 10%. Like this year, we expect a 10% higher area, primarily because last year farmers got a very good price for the cotton. But the major thing which will come is through the productivity, because that is one area which is our weakness, but that's our strength. Because we are so less as compared to other countries and as compared to even an international average actually. So while we need to work on cotton, whether it's increasing the cotton productivity, increasing the production of ELS variety of cotton, working on contamination of cotton, trash minimization in cotton. So while we keep working on that, we were discussing right now that a major expansion of textile industry will have to come from the man-made fiber. And if we want to be a very big player internationally, then we have to address the man-made fiber. Now what is happening, man-made fiber, some of the things initial, like even in cotton for that matter, our role starts only when the cotton comes to Mandi. Thereafter, our job starts, but before that, say agriculture ministry, but we are engaged with them. Similarly, we have to engage with the chemicals and petrochemicals industries ministry as well, and industry as well. Because right from the way we know about, I was just talking, the way we know, I know at least the data about cotton, or even a silk or a jute. I don't know about the man-made fiber, in the sense that what is the PTA MEG capacity in the country, how much of PTA MEG, let's say, utilized for the textile industry, and how much of that goes to plastic industry or whatever it may be. Then comes basically primarily we talk of polyester and viscose or maybe nylon in this country. So how much capacity we have? All of a sudden somebody asked me what is the capacity of polyester staple fiber and polyester filament yarn. Maybe I won't be able to tell you because I don't really day to day really engage, but we have to, in the sense that we have to be self-dependent as far as both PSF and the polyester filament yarn is concerned. And then of course you have different kind of other yarns and so, but primarily raw material security comes from there. So, because I am told that 80% or 90% of even a technical textile raw material basically comes from the man-made fiber. So to that extent, raw material security in man-made fiber becomes very important. Similarly, the case with the viscose staple fiber. I understand that we have a capacity of about 0.8 million, primarily by Grasim industry of viscose staple fiber in the country. They are, of course, expanding also, but then there are issues relating to kind of import from Indonesia and other issues are there. There is a 2.5% import duty on dissolved wood pulp, which is the basic raw material. So we are working on that also. Of course, the other sectors we are still have problems in both the weaving and processing sector to a certain extent. Maybe because initially the weaving was not basically it was not absolutely free kind of a thing. So today also most of the weaving takes place in unorganized sector and not so much into big units or mills or whatever it may be. I know some modernization has taken place. In certain places, a lot of loom modernization is taking place actually. But then I was talking to the gentleman from LMW who was there, and if they primarily make machinery for spinning. So we were saying that why don't you get into machinery for weaving also, different kind of looms, where they're saying that they had a plans for air jet loom or something. So where it's air jet loom or water jet loom or whatever, traffier looms or whatever it may be. So because our problem is that the kind of the shuttle looms we have, it has its own limitations in terms of quality, in terms of length, in terms of width. There are a lot of issues there. So modernization of weaving sector is also important, whether it's a cotton weaving or whether it's a man-made fiber weaving. And of course, next is our, which is perhaps we say that this is the weakest link is the processing. And now processing doesn't mean only, what I understand is not only a kind of a printing and whatever the other processes are there. These days people are talk of all kinds of even fabrics with different kind of properties. Maybe someone talks in terms of a what is that called, microbial free or whatever, no, antimicrobial property has to be there. Now how does, perhaps that would be a processing stage that somebody has to do it. We are talking in terms of active wears, we are talking of different kind of wears. So there is a lot, perhaps I am told that country like Taiwan has very good technology in this. We don't have that kind of a technology. So that's another sector we have to work out. And apparel garments, of course, everybody knows that we don't have. Maybe we have only 1 billion USD export companies, only one in the country perhaps. Maybe we should aspire that maybe in a few years' time, those who are kind of a 400 or 500 million could go to become a 1 billion like Asahi Exports or something. But for that, there are some other things which are very important. Not only these things. Like everybody has been talking, nahi sir, everybody, whenever we talk of garments and apparel, we talk of cotton prices becoming very high. But then cotton prices was a problem for last 6 months or 8 months. If you look at the data of export, data of apparel and garments, it has been same since the 2012-13 or 13-14. Either it has been a dip somewhere or it has been almost a flat. So cotton problem came, let's say, last year. Right now we are talking also of a hardening of demands from our major exporting nations. But this kind of problem will come. 10 years back also, 2010-11 or sometimes we had a similar kind of problem as far as the cotton is concerned. So, but then there is something structurally wrong with our apparel and garment industry for which we have not been growing. Even last year, if you really see, when we were facing all these problems, we did grew, but we grew marginally. If we look at, let's say, Vietnam and Bangladesh, they grew much faster. They also had these problems. Bangladesh tax basically, they have the advantage which they had advantage in terms of FTA, in terms of zero duty in European market. But even you look at, I have data even of US market, that how, let's say, share of Vietnam or share of Bangladesh has increased in the US market, where there is a level playing field. We might have increased our share also, but all the share which everybody talks of China plus, whatever the space which is being vacated by China, who grabs of how much? So there are issues, and going forward, there would be further issues actually. We were discussing right now about sustainability and circularity in textile industry. It's going to be very, very important. When I went to Bangladesh, everybody talks of LEED certified green factories. Some 160 number or something, they have big factories, they were talking. In India, we don't talk of any sort of LEED certification or whatever may be. I don't know, there must be some green factories in India also, but we are not really, perhaps we haven't mainstreamed circularity and sustainability as far as textile is concerned. I was very happy the other day to be at AEPC's headquarters in Gurgaon, where there was a presentation. Before that, even I did not know how much of textile waste gets generated in India, how much of that is a pre-consumer waste, how much that is a post-consumer waste, how much of pre-consumer waste gets recycled and reused, how much of post-consumer waste gets recycled, reused, how much of that goes to incineration plant, how much of that goes to landfill sites. A huge amount of that also goes to landfill sites. Now, there are nowadays technologies, and I am told that a lot of sourcing companies, they are now specifying that this product should have minimum so much percentage of recycled fiber or something of that sort. So that's another area where need to work. I was the other day discussing, yesterday evening, some of the buying houses and sourcing houses met the minister. And thereafter, I was discussing with them. So always, for example, when the Honorable Prime Minister went to Japan and Uniqlo President met, so then I was inquiring, and we found that Uniqlo sources primarily only from Sahi Exports and Brandex. Why is it that they source only from these two companies? Why don't they source from other companies actually? They talk of processes, they talk of maybe a quality, but there is no reason why our processes should not be good and our quality should not be good. So we have to work on that also. So my request to especially my friends from garment and apparel industry is that let's not only talk all the time, as they say, blame it on Rios all the time. Don't blame it on higher cotton prices, which we have seen in recent times. We need to perhaps introspect and see that where our weaknesses lie and how we can address those weaknesses. So friends, I will stop here. Maybe I was planning to speak all these in the next session, but once one comes here, one is tempted to blurt out whatever you had in mind. So thank you very much, and I am sure that deliberations here would certainly chalk out a roadmap for 10 years, even though we are chalking out a roadmap for 2047. In fact, there is something called a sectoral group of secretaries. We are about 10 secretaries, which is coordinated by Secretary Commerce. And yesterday we also had a discussion on Vision 2047. We have, of course, intermediate milestone also of 2030 and some, I think, 2035 or 2040, and finally 2047. It's a bit aspirational, of course, because in 2047, where we would be, and we would be making this presentation first to the Cabinet Secretary shortly, and maybe by end of this month to Prime Minister also. In fact, I plan that maybe I will work run through that vision document with you people also to get some of the extra input. So as Honorable Prime Minister has said, let's keep in mind that by next 25 years or so, which is the Amrit Kal for the country, we really do our bit to make India a developed country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing insights into a lot of the policy developments that's happening, as also some of the concerns, many of which are going to be addressed in the coming sessions. Now, may I request our guest of honor, Honorable Minister of State for Textiles and Railways, Srimati Darshana Jardosh, to deliver her special address, please.
10th एशियन टेक्सटाइल कॉन्फ्रेंस में हमारे बीच में उपस्थित यूपी सिंह जी, जो ओडिशा कैडर बेस के बहुत अच्छे ऑफिसर है और ओडिशा का अभी बहुत राज अच्छा चल रहा है। राष्ट्रपति जी भी वहीं से है और ओडिशा कैडर बेस के बहुत सारे ऐसे ऑफिसर है जो हमारे ऊपर, इंडस्ट्री के ऊपर और सभी मंत्रालय के ऊपर हम उनकी गाइडेंस मिलती है। उनके विज़न के बाद में मुझे नहीं लगता कि मेरे लिए कुछ बचा है। पूरा जो एक टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री का विज़न है उन्होंने बता दिया आपको। लेकिन जब सिटी की ओर से राजकुमार जी ने मुझे यहाँ बुलाया है ये ओपनिंग सेशन में, मैं धन्यवाद भी देती हूँ कि आज 10th एशियन टेक्सटाइल कॉन्फ्रेंस के थीम सेशन में मुझे हिस्सा लेते हुए हर्ष हो रहा है। रीइमेजिनिंग द टेक्सटाइल एंड अपैरल इंडस्ट्री फॉर द नेक्स्ट डिकेड को कॉन्फ्रेंस की थीम बनाने के लिए आपने अच्छा विषय चुना है और मुझे लगता है कि पूरे साल में सभी इंडस्ट्री के लोगों को मिलकर उनसे बातचीत करके काफ़ी कुछ मेरे व्यूज़ भी आपके लिए आप जान चुके हैं और आपके व्यूज़ भी हम लोग सुन चुके हैं। वैसे तो भारतीय इंडियन टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री जो है वो पूरी दुनिया में एक विशिष्ट स्थान रखती है और इंडस्ट्री के दो मेन जो अंग है, जिसमें पहला ट्रेडिशनली कुटीर उद्योग और दूसरा है टेक्निकल टेक्सटाइल के साथ चलने वाला, मॉडर्नाइजेशन से चलने वाला टेक्सटाइल उद्योग। तो यहाँ दोनों तरफ की चीज़ जब मैं देखती हूँ तो उनकी जितनी भी बातें सुनती हूँ तो मुझे प्रधानमंत्री जी का विज़न याद आता है। जैसे बताया गया कि अमृतकाल के अंदर उन्होंने लाल किले से 2-3 बातें हमारे लिए कही जो पूरी भारत के सभी लोगों को इसमें कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा लगता है कि हमारी सोच को वो रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहे हैं। जिसमें सबसे पहले उन्होंने जय जवान जय किसान जय विज्ञान के बाद में जय अनुसंधान जो वो मंत्र दिया है वो रिसर्च के साथ में रिलेटेड है और हमारी इंडस्ट्री पूरी इसी के ऊपर डिपेंड है। क्योंकि इंडस्ट्री में जितना ग्लोबली क्या चल रहा है वो सोचकर हम लोग आगे चलेंगे, इतना ही यहाँ पे उनका बिज़नेस अच्छा लगेगा। बिज़नेस सीक्रेसी भी होती है यहाँ पे, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि इतने बड़े देश में अगर हम लोग अपने आइडियाज़ शेयर करके चलेंगे तो सभी लोग अपने अपने नसीब का और अपनी जिम्मेदारी का काम जो है संकल्प करने में अपना योगदान दे सकेंगे। दूसरा मुझे लगता है कि उन्होंने एक 2-3 बातें अमृतकाल के लिए जो हमारे लिए कही वो भी मैं आपके साथ शेयर करूंगी, क्योंकि बहुत बड़े संकल्प लेके चलना है। जो हमारे संकल्प है वो उसमें विज़न बड़ा होना चाहिए जो आपकी इंडस्ट्री कर सकती है, हमारी इंडस्ट्री और टेक्सटाइल मिनिस्ट्री कर सकती है। हमारे मन के भीतर गुलामी का एक अंश भी है तो उसे बचना नहीं है। दूसरा संकल्प यही है जो हमारे पास नहीं है, कॉटन बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री है, इससे ज़्यादा आग जो भी मिनिस्ट्री ने जो तय किया है, PLI स्कीम है, PM मित्रा स्कीम है या टेक्निकल टेक्सटाइल या मैनमेड फाइबर के ऊपर जो विज़न के साथ रेडीमेड गारमेंट अप्रैल के साथ में हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई गुलामी का अंश हमारे बीच में बचा है। हमें हमारी विरासत पर गर्व होना चाहिए। और चौथा एकता और एकजुटता जो हो चुकी है। मुझे लगा ये वैल्यू चेन की जब बातें होती है तब यही होता है कि हम लोग सब एक साथ में जुटकर एक दूसरे के बारे में सोचेंगे तो हमारा विज़न भी अच्छा रहेगा। और नागरिकों का कर्तव्य जो भी हम लोग कर रहे हैं बहुत अच्छे से, भारत के हर नागरिक अपने अपने कर्तव्य को बहुत अच्छे तरीके से निभा रहा है। तो अभी ये संकल्प के साथ में आगे बढ़ना है। जैसे CITI ने यहाँ पे ये इतने सारे सेशन में आप लोगों ने अपने आइडियाज़ एक दूसरे को शेयर करने के लिए आप लोग जब इकट्ठा हुए हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जो मॉडर्न टेक्सटाइल कंपनी है दुनिया में वो भारत का नाम रोशन कर रही है और उसको हमें और आगे ले जाना है। आज जो ग्लोबली जो पॉलिटिकल, सामाजिक और आर्थिक उथल पुथल के कारण जो एशिया के टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री पर जो असर हो रहा है, शायद मुझे लगता है कि कोरोना की महामारी के बाद में संपूर्ण वैल्यू चेन में कॉटन और डाउनस्ट्रीम प्रोडक्शन जैसे यान और कपड़े की सप्लाई और मांग का जो बैलेंस है वो काफ़ी बिगड़ गया है। उसमें कीमतों में भी काफ़ी उतर चढ़ाव रहा, वो देखने को मिला हम लोगों को। लेकिन हाल ही में अमेरिका ने चीन की जिनजियांग रीजन में जो प्रोडक्ट कॉटन और उससे बनने प्रोडक्ट पर जो प्रतिबंध लगाया है, उससे यह समस्या और भी गंभीर हो सकती है। चीन में 80% से ज़्यादा कॉटन का प्रोडक्शन जो जिनजियांग रीजन में होता है। ऐसे में दूसरे देशों के साथ भारत से चीन को कॉटन का एक्सपोर्ट और बढ़ा सकता है, और इसमें हमें भारत और एशिया के दूसरों देशों को यानी कॉटन टेक्सटाइल सेक्टर के कच्चे माल की कीमत बढ़ सकती है। इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में भी एशिया की जो एक शाख है उसके कारण उसके बावजूद भी एक्सपोर्ट देश की समस्या बढ़ेगी मुझे लगता है। लेकिन इस वर्ष की शुरुआत में रूस और यूक्रेन के वॉर के बाद में जो हम लोगों को चैलेंज मिला है, इसमें बहुत सारी फाइनेंशियल डिफ़िकल्टी और सुस्ती मैं समझती हूँ बोल सकते हैं एशिया के एक्सपोर्टर्स फील कर रहे हैं। लेकिन हाल ही में डॉलर के मुकाबले रुपया सहित एशियन करेंसी में भी डेप्रिसिएशन होने से एक्सपोर्ट को भले ही कुछ अच्छा फ़ायदा अभी नहीं दिखाई मिलता हो, लेकिन एशिया के गारमेंट एक्सपोर्ट देश के बीच में जो कंपटीशन है वो बढ़ने की संभावना ज़रूर है। अमेरिकी डॉलर के मुकाबले जिन देशों की करेंसी में डिप्रिसिएशन ज़्यादा हुआ है, वहाँ एक्सपोर्टर्स फॉरेन बायर्स को सस्ती कीमत देने में सक्षम होंगे। इस मामले में रुपये से कम डेप्रिसिएशन से इंडियन एक्सपोर्टर को बहुत बड़ी स्पर्धा का सामना कर पड़ता है। श्रीलंका और पाकिस्तान के साथ बांग्लादेश में भी फाइनेंशियल जो कंडीशन ख़राब होने के कारण गारमेंट और टेक्सटाइल एक्सपोर्टर को पर जो असर होगा उस पर हमें ध्यान रखना होगा। और म्यांमार जैसे लोकतंत्र समर्थकों और सैन्य सरकार के बीच में हिंसक टकराव जो लंबे समय से चल रहा है, तो इसका फ़ायदा हम लोग किस तरह से ले सके वो भी इंडस्ट्री को सोचना चाहिए। प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन में इंडियन टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री अच्छा प्रदर्शन कर रही है और भारत के एक्सपोर्टर्स टेक्सटाइल और अपैरल में अच्छी अपनी इम्पोर्टेंस जिम्मेदारी निभाते हुए फाइनेंशियल 21-22 में जो इंडिया से टोटल एक्सपोर्ट हुआ उसमें अपना योगदान 10.34% रहा। और इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में भी टेक्सटाइल उद्योग के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी संभावना है। जो अमेरिका और यूरोप की कंपनियों के मध्य चीन +1 सप्लायर की धारणा मजबूत हुई है, तब से भारत के लिए संभावना और बढ़ी है। अभी विश्व के टेक्सटाइल सेक्टर में भारत की हिस्सेदारी करीबन 4% है। तो इंडियन टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री को इंटरनेशनल मार्केट के जो इवेंट है उसमें उसका लाभ उठाते हुए प्रेजेंट और फ्यूचर दोनों चुनौतियों को सफलतापूर्वक निभाना होगा और आगे चलना होगा। मुझे लगता है कि कॉटन के लिए जो सामना करना पड़ा, इसमें बहुत सारे लोग अभी जैसे यूपी सिंह जी ने बताया कि सभी के साथ बात हुई, वहाँ पे एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर भी साथ में थे और बहुत साथ बातचीत करने के बाद में हम लोगों ने सुरेश कोटक जी की अध्यक्षता में एक कमेटी भी बनाई है जो एडवाइजरी ग्रुप, राजकुमार जी भी है इसमें, जो सतत इसमें संवाद कर रही है। तो इससे भी कॉटन के प्रोडक्शन और क्वालिटी में भी सुधार होगा और आने वाले समय में जो ये समस्या हुई है उससे भी हम बाहर निकल पाएंगे। जो मुझे लगता है कि कॉटन की जुलाई में जो मूल्य हुआ वो 16,000 प्रति कैंडी की कमी भी आ चुकी है। तो जो भी सुपर फास्ट ट्रैक पर लाने के लिए जो हम लोगों ने इंडस्ट्री ने कदम उठाए, सरकार जो बातचीत से प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में जो बातचीत से समस्या हल करने के लिए सोच रही है, मुझे लगता है कि इसमें इंडस्ट्री का सहयोग वैसे भी रहा है। मैन मेड फाइबर, पॉलिस्टर, विस्कोस, इसके बारे में भी बताया। जब मैं 7 जुलाई को मुझे मंत्री मिली, मैं मंत्री पद के तौर पर आई जिम्मेदारी, उसी के साथ में वही विस्कोस वाला इशू सूरत से आया और उसको सॉल्व करते हुए आगे बढ़ते गए। और उसी समय सोचा था PLI स्कीम और PM मित्र पार्क का कैसे हम लोग लाभ उठा पाएंगे। अभी जब ये फार्म टू फाइबर, फाइबर टू फैक्ट्री, फैक्ट्री टू फैशन और फैशन टू फॉरेन थीम के ऊपर जो हमारी सोच है, इसमें सरकार जो काम कर रही है, इसमें क्वालिटी, ब्रांडिंग, इसके साथ में पूरी वैल्यू चेन के साथ में हम लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से प्लानिंग करी है और इसमें आप लोगों का सहयोग भी है। जैसे तिरंगे की शान अभी हम लोगों ने बढ़ाई, 20 करोड़ से ज़्यादा लोगों ने अपने घर पे तिरंगे लगाए। तो वहाँ पे जो कॉटन बेस हमारी इंडस्ट्री थी, कई बार सवाल उठे कि ये कॉटन या खादी के झंडे कोई न लगे, लेकिन हमारी जो प्रोडक्शन क्षमता थी तो हम लोगों को इसके ऊपर मैनमेड फाइबर के ऊपर ही डिपेंड रहना पड़ा। और जो छोटे से बदलाव के कारण जो हो सका इसके कारण जो प्रोडक्शन में बदलाव आया, जो हमारी डिमांड को पहुँचते हुए 20 करोड़ से ज़्यादा झंडे भी अपने अपने घर पे तिरंगा लगा पाए। तो इसमें जो हमारी देश की भावना भी बढ़ी। हम लोगों ने जो अभी 75 साल में जो तय किया है कि जो इंडस्ट्री जहाँ तक आई है उससे ज़्यादा 25 साल में हमें आगे ले जाना है, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की ओर बढ़ते हुए किस तरह से हम लोग ज़्यादा इसमें कर पाएंगे। मुझे लगता है कि ज़्यादा आप लोगों को ही बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। मैंने अभी पूछ लिया कि अग्रवाल जी आने वाले थे। इंडस्ट्री के साथ बातचीत करके एक्सपर्ट आप लोग हैं, आपके साथ जितना संवाद होगा, आप जितना अपना एक्सपीरियंस बताएंगे, उतना हम लोग को आगे डिसीजन लेने में आसानी होगी। और पीयूष जी, मैं, उपेंद्र जी और हम लोग प्रधानमंत्री जी के साथ में जब भी संवाद होता है इंडस्ट्री के बारे में, हम लोग यही सोचते हैं कि आज तक इंडस्ट्री को जो भी मिला, 2014 के बाद की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, लेकिन जितनी भी स्कीम वगैरह भी आई, रोड टेप, ROCTL और इसके साथ में जो भी छोटे पार्क्स बनाना, या जो आप लोगों की डिमांड के हिसाब से कॉमन फैसिलिटी सेंटर और नयापन जो भी करना है, हम लोगों ने हमेशा किया है और आने वाले समय में भी करते रहेंगे। मैं सूरत से हूँ तो बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं जो बार बार इंडस्ट्री क्या चाहती है, क्या विज़न है, क्या आगे जाना चाहिए। जैसे आर्मी के कपड़े बने, कर्टन्स बने, हमारे यहाँ होम फर्निशिंग की चीज़ें बनी, कारपेट्स बनने लगी। तो जो कार एसेसरी सभी चीज़ों में कहीं पे भी हम लोग पीछे नहीं हैं, लेकिन ग्लोबल मार्केट को कैसे आगे ले जाए, कैसे FTA के माध्यम से जो कंट्रीज़ के साथ में हुआ है, इसमें हम लोगों का एक्सपोर्ट कैसे बने। एक तरफ आप लोग हैं और एक तरफ वो इंडस्ट्री है जो घर में बैठे काम करती है, जिसको घर में काम चाहिए। रेडीमेड गारमेंट में मैंने देखा कि जब भी अप्रैल की बात होती है तो आप लोग हमेशा मशीन से कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे। आपको जो घर पे काम करने वाली जो महिला है, जो सबसे ज़्यादा घर पे बैठ के भी काम करती है, उसका भी सहयोग चाहिए। जैसे तिरंगा बना, मैं उसका एक्सपीरियंस बता दूं आपको कि तिरंगा मशीन के ऊपर तो बन गया, निकलने लगा, लेकिन जब उनके सिलाई की बातें आई तो वहाँ पे लोगों को ही काम करना पड़ा और बहुत अच्छे से देश जुनून से लोगों ने काम किया। कई बंदे ने तो ऐसा किया कि अपने साथ में चप्पल भी नहीं पहनी और जो मशीन के ऊपर वो साइड वाली जो कॉर्नर लगाते हुए, तो ऐसी कई चीज़ें हैं। रेडीमेड गारमेंट्स में भी ऐसा होगा कि अगर हम लोग जैसे शर्ट के बारे में सोचते हैं तो वहाँ मैन्युअली भी बहुत कुछ करना पड़ेगा। तो एक साइड में ऐसे एजुकेशन के साथ में लोग हैं जिनको ज़्यादा कुछ करना है, या तो वो अपने घर पे रह के काम करना चाहते हैं या फैक्ट्री में नहीं आना चाहते, तो किस तरह से उसकी ट्रेनिंग हो जाए, किस तरह से हम लोगों को जो ट्रेनिंग चाहिए उनको किस तरह से तैयार कर सके। मशीनरी भी आएंगी, कई जगह पर हम लोगों ने देखा कि नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ में जो मशीनरी आती है तो उसको ऑपरेट करने के लिए भी हम लोगों को चाहिए, उसकी ट्रेनिंग भी चाहिए। और इसके साथ में जो नई जनरेशन है वो किस तरह से इसमें इंटरेस्ट ले, ऐसे कोर्सेज भी होने चाहिए, ऐसे एजुकेशन भी होनी चाहिए। जैसे कई बार ऐसा होता है, मैं डायनेस्टी की बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, लेकिन कोई अगर सफल व्यक्ति होता है तो वो अपने बेटे को वो लेटेस्ट से लेटेस्ट ट्रेनिंग दे देता है, लेकिन अगर जनरल 65% हम लोगों की पॉपुलेशन में युवा है, अगर वो हमारी इंडस्ट्री के तरफ आकर्षित होना चाहता है तो उसको किस तरह से लाया जाए, उसको कैसे ट्रेनिंग दिया जाए, कैसे उनकी नॉलेज बढ़ाई जाए। जब मैं अहमदाबाद गई थी, मुझे याद है कि वहाँ पर जीन्स और कॉटन के बेस पर इंडस्ट्री चलती थी और उनको लगता था कि सूरत की इंडस्ट्री है, उन्होंने काफ़ी मैनमेड में अपना प्रोग्रेस कर लिया है। तो अहमदाबाद में कैसे ऐसे लोग हैं जिनके पास पुरानी लूम्स है या पुराने तरीके से वो काम कर रहे हैं, तो उनको नई टेक्निक या नया विज़न या ग्लोबल मार्केट कैसे है वो कैसे सिखाएंगे। तो दोनों तरफ की चीज़ें, दोनों प्रकार के लोग हमारे पास में हैं। जैसे पूरे भारत को एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की ओर आगे ले जाते हैं तो वहाँ पे भी दिखता है कि जितना वेस्टर्न साइड पर हम लोगों का प्रोग्रेस हुआ है, महाराष्ट्र, गुजरात, राजस्थान, तमिलनाडु कर्नाटक के साथ में, लेकिन इतनी इंडस्ट्री नॉर्थन साइड पर नहीं हुई है। वहाँ पे भी हम लोगों ने सिल्क के साथ में तैयारी करी है, क्योंकि जो पूरी उत्तराखंड, ओडिशा, आसाम, वहाँ सभी जगह पे जो बोडोलैंड में भी अभी हम लोग गए थे, वहाँ पे भी उन लोगों के साथ में कोकून का ट्री प्लांटेशन कैसे हो जाए, वहाँ की रूरल जनता कैसे ये कोकून के साथ में फिर प्रोडक्शन में चली जाए, सिल्क की प्रोडक्शन बने, सिल्क का फैब्रिक बने। जो भी PLI स्कीम आई वो फैब्रिक के ऊपर डिपेंड रही, वो बेस है, रेडीमेड पर है और टेक्निकल टेक्सटाइल पे है। तो सिल्क में भी जापान चाइना के बाद हम तीसरे नंबर पे है और इतना प्रोडक्शन हो सकता है कि उसकी भी बहुत मार्केट हम लोग कर सकते हैं। जैसे वैगन सिल्क और भी कई मटेरियल से, पाइनएप्पल से या बनाने के छिलके से बनने वाली सिल्क भी हो चुकी है। इसमें भी बहुत बड़ा इनोवेशन होता है। धीरू भाई बैठे यहाँ 16-20 तारीख को सूरत में यान एक्सपो होगा, तो ये सब टेक्निक देखने को मिलेगी। अगर आप लोगों को भी आना है तो सूरत तो ज़रूर आना पड़ेगा। यूपी सिंह जी को भी जब हम लोग लेके गए थे तब पता चला कि किस तरह से इंडस्ट्री ग्रो कर रही है, किस तरह से विज़न है और किस तरह से हम लोगों को सरकार के विज़न से जुड़ना है। तो सरकार ये प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में, मैं पीयूष जी हमेशा ऐसे सोचते हैं कि सभी के साथ बातचीत करें, सब लोग वैल्यू चेन से एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करते हुए लेटेस्ट टेक्निक के साथ में, एजुकेशन के साथ में नई जनरेशन को जोड़ते हुए आगे चलेंगे। आप लोगों ने ये सेमिनार में मुझे बुलाया, मुझे बहुत अच्छा भी लगा आप लोगों से बात करके। और भी टेक्निकल आपके सेशन पूरे दिन के होंगे, इसमें से जो अमृत मंथन निकलेगा अमृत काल में वो हम तक जरूर पहुंचाइए, क्योंकि कई बार ऐसा हुआ है, मैं रेलवे मिनिस्टर भी हूं, तो कई बार ऐसा देखा है कि कई जगह पर कई रिसर्च हुए हैं लेकिन रिसर्च हम तक नहीं पहुंचते। तो अगर आपके पास भी कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें हैं या तो ऐसा कोई आइडियाज़ है जिसमें आप लोग गवर्नमेंट को सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, आपकी कोई मंशा है तो ज़रूर हमें बताइए। जय हिंद।
धन्यवाद मैडम। जैसे आपने कहा, हमारी भी कोशिश आज यही है कि हम सब एकजुट होकर अगले दशक के लिए हाउ टू प्रोग्रेस उस पर डिस्कशन करेंगे। नाउ मे आई रिक्वेस्ट चेयरमैन मिस्टर राजकुमार टू काइंडली फेलिसिटेट आवर ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट फॉर टेक्सटाइल्स मैडम दर्शना जारदोश जी। Thank you, sir. May I request Mr. Rakesh Mehra, Deputy Chairman, CITI, to felicitate our Secretary, Mr. UP Singh. Thank you, sir. Now may I call upon Mr. Rakesh Mehra to propose the vote of thanks.
It is my proud privilege to propose a vote of thanks in the theme session, Reimagining the Textile and Apparel Industry for the next decade of the 10th Asian Textile Confederation. I thank CITI for choosing such an apt theme for the event, as the Indian textile and apparel industry is passing through a crucial phase. The Indian textile and apparel industry not only requires the utmost attention of the policymakers, but also needs the desired support of the industry stakeholders and foreign investors to provide a major thrust to the industry to take a big leap forward and leverage the FTAs being signed by the government with major textile sourcing countries. I would like to place on record my sincere thanks to the Honorable Minister of State for Textiles and Railways, Shrimati Darshana Vikram Jardosh ji, for accepting our kind invitation and gracing the event as guest of honor. Madam, I am thankful to you for delivering the special address in the theme session and encouraging industry captains to rise to the occasion and asking them to give their best not only to the textile industry, but also to the Indian economy. I would also like to thank the Honorable Textile Secretary, Shri Upendra Prasad Singh ji, for sharing government's vision and roadmap of the textile sector for the next decade. Sir, you have consolidated and put forward all the views which I think have been taken up very well by all of us. Your today's insights, sir, will motivate the entire textile and apparel fraternity and will also inspire them to greater participation in government schemes. Your good self has always been kind enough in addressing the various issues and challenges hindering the growth of Indian industries. I also extend my sincere thanks to Managing Director, Grasim Industries, Shri S.L. Agarwal ji, for I think he's not there, right? Okay, so I'll take. Sir, we are extremely confident that under your able guidance and visionary leadership, the Indian MMF industry will get many of our pending issues resolved soon, and textile industry will not only achieve the visionary target of $350 billion domestic market size and $100 billion exports for 25-26, but also emerge as a global champion of textile and apparel in the coming decades. I also thank Fiber to Fashion Private Limited for being the knowledge partner of ATEXCON. I would also like to thank our chairman, Shri Rajkumar, for efficiently handling the issues of the textile and apparel industry since he has taken over as chairman of CITI. He has been instrumental in resolving many issues of the textile and apparel industry, and I, on behalf of the entire industry, thank him through this platform. The global textile industry is witnessing a structural shift in the supply chain, and terms like China plus one, onshoring, reshoring, etc. are being used very often in the textile industry fraternity. I'm sure the deliberations would encompass many aspects of how the textile and apparel industry is likely to change in the coming decade. I wish all success for fruitful deliberations that would discuss here. I'm sure the chairman of the sessions, including moderators and panelists, will bind the audience with their enriching deliberations, and the textile fraternity would definitely get the answers for their queries which they are expecting to hear from today's deliberations. I would sincerely like to thank the sponsors, LMW, Cotton Egyptian Cotton, Reater, ITME, Indorama, Grasim, and Shiva Texian for sponsoring the event. I would like to thank MCX for being an awareness partner for the event. I also thank all the supporting partners, SIMA, the Cotton Textile Export Promotion Council, Ahmedabad Textile Industry Research Associations, Denim Manufacturers Association, Tirupur Exporters Association, NITRA, and the SRTEPC. All Indian Associations of Industries, UAE, India Business Councils. I also thank media partners, Textile Value Chain, the Textile Magazine, Tekoya Trend, Technical Textile Excellence, and TexFash for providing wide range of publicity to the event. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the audience and more than 300 plus delegates who have joined the CITI conference today. Some have joined virtually, others are here. Without your participation and involvement, the conclave will not culminate into a successful event. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir. Now we conclude this session. We'll be taking a break for around 10 minutes and join back at around 11:40 for our session 1 on rebuilding India's textile and apparel industry. Thank you.